Today's topic is all about a couple of the most effective strategies when it comes to beating the runaway emotions of depression and anxiety. You know, Shai, our mentor likes to call this calm the freak down and lighten the freak up.
We love that saying, and it's not just a saying, there are strategies behind it. So if you've ever found yourself rolling off the rails of a runaway train, then you'll want to make sure to stay tuned in to this minisode.
We're talking leadership this week, and one of the organizations we are so proud to be at the helm of is the Neuroencoding Institute.
We got to co-found the Neuroencoding Institute alongside Dr. Joseph McClendon III, amazing world-renowned neuropsychologist and incredible mentor and teacher. If you're at all interested in learning more about what the Neuroencoding Institute does and what it can do for you, please visit neuroencoding.com.
You're enjoying this episode on Angel Fenix Productions Podcast Network. To explore a complete lineup of quality programs and media production services, head on over to angelphoenix.com or like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Angel Fenix Productions.
Okay, how can we not sing Rolling Off the Rails on the Crazy Train? Oh, yeah.
Runaway negative emotion train.
You are not going off the rails. We are keeping you on those rails. We want to make sure that you have as much equipment in your back pocket as you can for combating these runaway negative emotions. Now, one of the things that we talked about in the beginning are those two concepts of calm the freak down and lighten the freak up. Now, one of the things about calm the freak down that I love so much is that the physical expressions of anxiety are the elevated heart rate and blood pressure, excessive movement, and fidgeting when your brain is very active. And one of the best things you can do for yourself when you're in that emotional state is to calm the freak down.
And what does that look like? Usually it has to do with bringing awareness and attention to your breathing patterns, just making that intentional, filling your diaphragm completely, allowing yourself the space to bring in a full amount of oxygen into your body. What happens for lots of us as we go into a stress management response is that shallow breathing means we get less oxygen into our blood, and that it restricts the amount of oxygen available to our brain, which means our decision making is impacted by that. So even just a couple of deep breaths can calm down your parasympathetic nervous system and allow your brain to get back to its optimum functioning position so it can help you make the best decisions.
Let's get you out of fight or flight, back into your executive function and on the right track, right? I mean, for goodness sake, you're captaining an entire train. You've got to do some intentional work to make sure that you stay on those rails. So I love that calming down. You know, I see this manifest in my daughter. Sometimes she gets a little anxious about things, right? We're trying something new or it's difficult, and we've told her that we do a deep breath. She takes a deep breath in through her nose and out through her mouth, and we've really watched how this effectively calms her down. She's only 4 years old, but these strategies work whether you're 440 or I want to say 400, but I don't think we know anybody that old.
If you are that old, come forward and share your secrets. But the second half of that formula is calm the freak down and then lighten the freak up. So what does that mean? It means redirect your mental narrative. It means put yourself in a place where you can now start replacing the negative thoughts with constructive thoughts, with positive thoughts, with, if at least bare minimum, neutral thoughts, right? This whole idea of like, maybe you could just start thinking about baseball or the Christmases of Christmas past or something else that's just neutral that will redirect your level of focus and awareness away from the emotion that is starting to gain momentum down that track.
Well, if we think about lighten the freak up, let's just also think about those 3 P's of depression, right? It's personal, it's pervasive, it's permanent. Now that's really heavy. That sounds really freaking heavy. It's also personal, it's all pervasive, it's, so it's permanent. If we look at these things and we start to examine them, one tactic that you can use to help yourself lighten up is to just question those emotions when they come up, right? You hear an absolute in your mind say, it will always be like this. Now, you can always give yourself the tool of, well, are you sure? right? Am I sure? Is that really the truth? It's always 100%. Do I know that? Do I know that 100% to be true? And start questioning those thoughts that come into your mind when you notice them, because chances are you can beat yourself with a little bit of logic.
Right? Just question the validity of the statements running through your mind, and that can help you lighten up as well. What can also help you lighten up is to literally, get into some light, go outside, or lighten up in terms of humor, right? Like watch, there's a thread called Contagious Laughter, and I love it. And sometimes when I'm feeling down, I'll just go to the thread of Contagious Laughter. 4 or 5 videos in, I can't help but start laughing along with somebody, and it just helps break that pattern. So whether you're trying to calm down or lighten up, these are great things that you can bring forward when you're starting to feel the momentum pick up on that runaway track.
This podcast was a production of Angel Phoenix Productions. Explore more episodes of this show or other great shows on the Angel Phoenix Podcast Network by visiting angelphoenix.com. The views expressed in this show do not necessarily represent those of Angel Phoenix Productions or its advertisers, and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners.